What's up everyone, welcome to another video in my series for pre-construction condos. In this series you'll learn about every single aspect of the process that you can think of. So just a bit about myself, I'm a Toronto-based realtor and I've been working with pre-construction buyers, sellers, and investors for several years now. This video series will answer the most commonly asked questions. They're a resource for you whether you're a buyer or even just someone who just wants to know more about how the process works. So today we're going to be talking about the deposit structure. If you've ever thought about purchasing a pre-construction condo but had no idea how the process worked when it came to the deposits or the payments, then this video is for you. So the first thing that we're going to look at is how it works. What do the payments look like? How much time are you given to pay? So that's number one. The next thing that we're going to look at is how the payments work. Using some real numbers in an example, you'll get an idea of how much you need to save and also when those payments actually need to go through during the pre-construction process. We're also going to look at the advantages and the benefits of having a scheduled payment structure and why sometimes this is the preferred option for home buyers. The last thing that we'll look at is some of the risks involved when it comes to the deposits. Questions like what happens when a developer can no longer financially support the construction project anymore, and what happens to your deposit. The last one is really big and it's relevant to the time of this recording because one of the developers in Toronto recently just went through something like that, and so we're going to be talking about that as well. Alright, so let's get right into it. So purchasing a pre-construction condo is quite different from the traditional resale condo in so many different ways. This unique purchase option usually allows you to make several payments spread out over the course of a couple of years. Now let's fast forward a little bit and say that you found a pre-construction condo project that you like and now you're looking into how the payments work. You'll learn that your payments are split up into several different deposits. The developer sets out a payment schedule for you to pay these deposits. It's usually about 20% of the total purchase price. Here's how it works. So let's say the condo you're looking at is a one-bedroom unit in Toronto and it costs $500,000. 20% of that is $100,000. That $100,000 is the total deposit that you would have to make over the course of several payments. The remaining balance is $400,000 and that would be what you would be seeking a mortgage for in the future, assuming you make no other deposit payments. So on the other hand, in the case of a resale home purchase, which is another way of saying that the home is not brand new and the title of the property has swapped from one person to another, then your down payment for a resale home can vary as low as anywhere as 5%. So what's the difference between a deposit and a down payment? Your down payment is essentially a combination of all the deposits that you've made. When it comes to the traditional resale transaction, you'll probably make only a single deposit with your offer and likely one additional one before you take on your mortgage. Typically, the deposit on a resale home is about 5% of the purchase price. The percentage might vary depending on where you live, but here in Toronto, the average is more or less 5%. So that amount goes towards your down payment. And when it's time for you to get your mortgage, you can make an additional deposit with your real estate lawyer in trust. The lawyer then disperses the funds to the lender. Putting down an additional deposit can help you avoid things like higher ratio mortgages and mortgage insurance. So now you know how deposits work. But hold on, before you and your realtor walk into a pre-construction sales office to sign the purchase documents, you'll also be told to bring your checkbook. And just a heads up, these will probably be some of the biggest checks you will ever write. Which makes sense, because someone's home is typically the largest purchase they'll make in their lifetime and turns into the largest investment without ever realizing it. There, I've mentally prepared you, so now you're ready. Go. No, wait, just kidding. There's still more I need to tell you. Now we're going to look at an example using some real numbers for a condo project that I'm currently working on right after this.
What's in the name? Who you are, what you do, how you love, what you seek, how you feel. Where you live defies labels. Space is only a backdrop. The experience is you. Live your life untitled.
So we're going to use the purchase price of $500,000 and the purchase date of May 1st, 2020. The first check is going to be for $10,000 on signing. So when you sign the dotted line, you immediately owe $10,000. The second check is for the balance of 5% in 30 days. 5% of the purchase price is $25,000. Since $10,000 was already paid, then the balance is $15,000. So that means the second check that you owe in 30 days is for $15,000. The third check is for another 5%, so another $25,000. This one is owed in 300 days. For simplicity, let's just say that's 10 months from the signing date. So that brings us all the way to March 1st of the following year when your third deposit is taken. Your fourth and final check is 5% on occupancy. This particular development has a move-in date of December 2023. So that means between March 21st, 2021 and December 2023, you have zero financial obligations to make any further deposits. And even when that day comes, that's 2.5 years later. So that means you have 2.5 years to save up that 5%, another $25,000. And that's a lot of time. So one of the benefits of having a scheduled deposit structure is having the flexibility of time to make those payments. So time is on your side. If you're not in a rush to move in the next couple of years, then having payments spread out over a couple of years can be a huge benefit to you. Time is a limited resource. That is a fact. There's only 24 hours in a day, and on average, we're only awake for 70% of that time. But for once in your life, you have the luxury of time on your side, so you continue saving up for these deposit payments. And so what's going to happen in a few years when you're done making these deposits? Your pre-construction investment will probably have appreciated in value, which means your money is also growing over time. Okay, so at this point, I know it sounds really sweet, but it's not a perfect system. So just like anything else in life, there's no reward without a certain amount of risk involved. Which brings us to the fourth and final topic. So what happens when a developer can no longer financially sustain the condo construction project that they're working on? This happened recently with a Toronto developer in March who is probably very well known now. Cresford Developments went into receivership earlier this year on March 27th. This means they defaulted on the payments of their loan. So the receiver took action, which led to 3 of Cresford's projects getting cancelled. So the biggest question for buyers and investors is, what happens to their deposits? So when a project is canceled, the seller is supposed to return all of the deposit. But if they don't, then the buyers are entitled to $20,000 under Terion's Ontario New Home Warranty Plan. So even though the deposits are insured for up to $20,000, the receivership process can be quite lengthy. So keep this in mind when you're considering pre-construction homes. Okay, so now here's a quick recap on what we learned today. So first we talked about what a deposit structure is and why it works for certain home buyers out there. We looked at an example using some real numbers and what the payments look like. Use that example to crunch in some of your own numbers to see if this is something that is manageable for you. Next, we talked about the flexibility of having a deposit structure. If your goal is to put 20% down in your home, then you don't have to make all those payments in one shot. This is a great option in case you don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars saved up compared to a resale home that would require that 20% right away. Another benefit is that you have time on your side because the payments are spread out. You can save as you go for the upcoming payments based on your deposit schedule. Another benefit to you is that since these projects usually take a couple of years to complete, your money is also likely going to grow for you since good real estate investment choices appreciate over time. And finally, the last thing that we talked about was risk. There's a certain amount of risk involved when it comes to pre-construction homes. We looked at 3 projects that were canceled this year, but that's only 1% of the 300 plus new developments that are currently happening in Toronto right now, and that doesn't even include the rest of the GTA. So what did you think of this video? Was there something about deposits that I didn't talk about that you'd like to know? Or something that was covered in this video but you want to learn more about it? Let me know in the comments and I'll be sure to get back to you. I'm releasing a new video for the pre-construction home series every single week, so be sure to subscribe to stay updated. Thanks for watching and I'll catch you guys in the next video.